Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Google and Optimal Targeting webinar. My name is Darius Ameri. I'm an Agency Development Manager here at Google, and I will now introduce my colleague, Candace Jordan.
Hi, everyone. I am an agency account strategist here working with agencies like Optimal Targeting. On Google's part, we're going to be talking to you today about sort of just what the landscape looks like and how we effectively and efficiently reach our advertisers. And I'll pass it over to David.
Hi, this is David Koenigsberg. I'm CEO of Optimal Targeting, and we have a great presentation prepared for you today, learning about some of the newer things that Google came out with and some micro moments. And with that, I'll pass it on to Darius, who will begin.
Great. So let's begin with the next slide. And at Google, we're here to talk to you about two of my favorite topics, the intersection of mobile and consumer behavior. As marketers, when it comes to mobile, we used to live in a world where media was scarce. There was a handful of television channels out there and a very focused window of time when most of the audience was engaged. As a result, marketers were able to expose people to their message at will. We sat and watched, and in an average night of primetime television, you could get in front of 80 to 90% of your audience. Now, we live in a world where media is abundant. We have hundreds of channels, billions of videos on YouTube, billions of sites, posts, tweets, games, and snaps. And as a result, we are tuning in more than ever. In the past 3 years alone, media consumption has increased more than 500%. But as marketers, increased screen time doesn't necessarily mean increased exposure. With consumers in control of when and where they consume media, people decide when to tune you in and when to tune you out. The underlying driver of this change is the smartphone. On average, people check their phone 150 times per day. It's hard to believe there's time for anything else. What are they doing? They're tuning in to check their email, text spouses, or see what their friends are up to. Across all of these moments, consumers aren't necessarily seeking out a brand, and because they are in control of their own media choices, they are more capable than ever of tuning you out. But there are certain moments when they may choose to tune you in, and as brands, these are the moments that you have to be ready for. The moments when people act on their needs to learn something, do something, or buy something. 170 minutes. Now, we call these micro moments. These are where we act on our needs in our I want to know, I want to go, I want to do, I want to buy moments. These intent-rich moments when we turn to our devices for help are increasingly critical for brands to win, because these are the moments when preferences are being shaped and decisions being made. Let me give you an example. We performed some ethnographic research over the past year with real people who had real needs and real moments. I want to share a couple of their stories with you now. Meet Mabel. Mabel is getting ready in the morning. Mabel decides to try a new hairstyle. She reaches to her phone to learn how to achieve the look. So, the Mabel's new day, new me moment. She's 23 years old. Her intent is to try a new hairstyle, and the context on her phone at 8:32 a.m. in the bathroom. The marketing implication here is to be useful before the purchase to build preference.
Today, I did a Google search about how to achieve the wet look hairstyle.
The wet-haired look. Where were you when you did that search?
I think I was sitting in my bathroom. I spend a lot of time in my bathroom. I just like that area because I like the lighting. It's like a creative space for me. So I was just hanging out, thinking about what I was going to wear that day and what kind of look would be the most versatile. I was also trying to solve the problem of having dry hair that morning. So I wanted to moisturize my hair and also have something that felt on trend. I was like, oh, the wet hair look. So I did a search. I found the instructions. I was bouncing between two sources. One of them was an online magazine, and the other one was of images from each of the fashion shows about how that look was achieved. So I kind of mixed and matched from both sources. It was totally a successful search. I got what I was looking for.
What's this feeling like when you nail that look?
I mean, it feels great. When I feel like I look good, then I feel good. So there's really nothing that feels better than that.
So these are mobile moments. First and foremost, we have to understand what's driving this change. And without question, the answer is the rise of the smartphone. Mobile search queries now outnumber desktop queries in 10 major markets, including the US and Japan. But it's not just the fact that there is more mobile usage. Mobile devices are actually changing the way people engage with brands, online and offline. And this change in behavior has fractured the consumer journey into hundreds of tiny decision-making moments. Consider these three figures. We've seen a 20% increase in mobile's share of online sessions across the web in the past year. At the same time, we've seen an 18% decrease in time spent per visit across the web in the past year. In other words, as mobile accounts for more sessions, they're getting shorter overall. But there's a lot happening in these sessions. In the past year, mobile conversion rates have increased by 29%. Now here's what these numbers tell me. We no longer research purchases in long, dedicated sessions on a laptop or desktop. Instead, we reach for our devices in the moment. We access information faster than ever before, and as a result, we make more informed decisions faster as well. These, by the numbers, are micro moments. Admittedly, these moments seem small and almost mundane, but in many ways, that's just the point. Your biggest opportunities come in the smallest moments. Do we want brands that interrupt us when we are checking in with friends, or brands that help us accomplish something? These moments when people tune in represent an unprecedented opportunity for you to be relevant to a consumer's needs, and in the process win their hearts, minds, and dollars.
Now we want to move into a section where we talk about some of the new and innovative ways that Google has available in order to win the hearts, minds, and dollars of those consumers. The first one, it's been around for a little while, but it was a beta for quite some time. It's now available to most advertisers, but still not all, and it's something called Gmail Sponsored Promotions. What we use Gmail Sponsored Promotions for is basically just to connect with consumers in an innovative way, and it's designed specifically for Gmail, which we all know has huge usership. These are a couple of statistics that we got from eMarketer and other market research done in 2014 and 2015. 96% of US adult internet users also use email. That's a huge number, but the internet is so prevalent that that makes sense for all of us. 56% of those internet users in the US use Gmail as their primary email source. That number was a little bit more surprising to some people. And if we think about it in terms of the quantity, it's in the millions. And if we look at it worldwide, it can be in the billions. So this is interesting for us. And we saw this by looking at the past 4 years and understanding that email is the second highest category of daily time spent with digital media, that we needed a format for it. So why would we use Gmail Sponsored Promotions? We'll talk a little bit about the format in a second, which is interesting, but why is this important? It's designed for Gmail, you customize it, and you can achieve a variety of different marketing goals. Building awareness, you have really great creative units that you can customize and make sure that your customers recognize and remember your brand, can influence their consideration with messaging specific to that audience meant to capture their interest. You can drive sales by sending your interested users to a specific point in your purchase cycle. And then you can also grow loyalty and retention by building on existing consumer relationships. We have another product that we'll talk about a little bit further down called Customer Match that you can use in conjunction with Gmail, especially as it pertains to that last marketing goal. So here's how it works. If you want to open up your Gmail app on your phone or look at your Gmail on your computer right now, you'll see that there's a promotions tab. On that promotions tab, it displays a teaser ad that a person, will see at the top of their inbox and looks to be pretty native to the environment. Now, that teaser ad is going to be your logo, your brand's website, and whatever messaging you develop. The strategy behind this, once we understand all of the different creative aspects of a Gmail sponsored promotion ad, is really what is a desired action that you want a person to take. So we can target using age and gender. We can target based on geography, language, whatever device a person's on, a particular topic that they're interested in, an affinity segment, which is essentially how they identify themselves. We can use keyword targeting, and one of the most successful forms of targeting we found is domain targeting, either your own domain to reach out and look at ways to grow loyalty amongst existing customers, but also the domains of your direct competitors to make sure that you're reaching customers who have received emails from them in the past. And again, that's meant to drive awareness and consideration. It's going to be really great for mobile traffic, overall website visits, and also direct product purchases. So moving into the next new and innovative thing that we have available is called Custom Affinity, which I alluded to a little bit a moment ago. This is where you can essentially create your own audience. You know which users make the most sense for your brand. You know which ones are going to be inspired by your brand. You know which ones are most likely to purchase, etc. We have a ton of different audience options, but the Custom Affinity allows you to create your own so that you don't have to fit into one of the existing buckets. You identify who your ideal audience is, you reach them at scale with very minimal waste, and then you're able to measure the impact of your ads on those specific audiences that you've created. The thing that makes Custom Affinity really, really interesting and useful is that there are extremely powerful signals that we're looking for to develop this audience. All you have to do as an advertiser is find 10 interests or URLs that make sense for your audience. That establishes a theme for our system. You have to choose the most specific URLs related to your audience versus just a home page. And then we estimate how many people you'll be able to reach using that audience, and it updates in real time. The interesting thing about this is you can see how that breaks down amongst your demographics and your website topics, and it'll tell you how your audience will appear based on what you've input. The next step with using Custom Affinity audiences is pairing it with some of the new engagement formats that we have available. What you see at the top right is called a Lightbox ad. This is one format of it. You can essentially take any creative asset that you have, whether it be video, images, if you have maps that you want to show because you have different store locations. We now have a format of this that we may be able to use for some advertisers where you can show your individual products, much like shopping ads that you might see in Google search. So using those custom affinities that you've created to identify your specific audience, you can then run engagement ads so that you can offer that really valuable audience the choice to interact with your brand. From there, you can then measure the impact that your advertising has on your brand using brand lift studies, which is something that we have internally where you can measure the lift in your brand awareness, your ad recall, and your brand interest. Lastly, which will take us back to the Gmail sponsor promotions we talked about first, I'd like to introduce Customer Match to you. This is one of the newest innovative things that we have available for people to use. And it basically allows you to use your customer data, your hard-won and earned customer data across YouTube, Gmail, and search. So you know your customers' purchase history. You know their profiles, you know what offline campaigns you're running, and essentially you're collecting data about your customer every step of your purchase process. You can now take that same data and use it to drive your messaging across all devices using Customer Match. The Customer Match works by allowing you to upload your first-party data into AdWords. It's your email addresses that you've collected directly from your customers. You can upload that as an audience list. We have tons of things in place to make sure that things are safe in terms of privacy. So no worries there. What it does is take the email address and it matches it to a Google account. A Google account is any email address that you've ever used to sign into any Google product. As you can imagine, lots and lots of email addresses match specifically to a Google account. Once we create that audience list based on those accounts, we discard all your email data, and then we allow you to use that list of Google accounts to target or exclude across devices and channels. You can use that to target or exclude on search. You can use it for Gmail sponsored promotions. You can also use it for YouTube campaigns. I think one of the most useful features of Customer Match is that it generates a similar audience list where applicable. You have to have a certain number of matched email addresses in order for this feature to be enabled, but it basically determines a profile of the email addresses that you've uploaded, and it creates a list of similar users based on their browsing history and other behavior that you can then target. And it's really great for prospecting because it's not your existing customers, but it's potential customers who match the profile of your existing customers. As I said before, this allows you to reach your consumers across your channels and your devices. You're matching your online data with your offline data, and you can use it on Google, which is billions of monthly searches. You can use it on YouTube, which is the second largest search engine in the world, and you can also use it on Gmail, which has about 900 million monthly active users as of this research. So even though we have talked about individual, very specific products and features that Google has available to reach your consumer, it all goes back to that initial thought that Darius has talked about in some detail. We focus on the individual products that help us reach the audience, but it comes back to the fact that in order to win, we have to understand that there are some moments that matter more than others. We identify those moments when people are looking to make choices and informed decisions. That might be while they're in their email. That might be while they're browsing across the internet, while they're searching. We have to understand what they're tuning in for, what is it they truly need, and then find ways to be relevant and useful in their daily lives. So this is where Google helps overall. We have a rich understanding of people's intent and context. We have all these different products and features that you can use to achieve that goal. So these types of moments, whether it's Gmail, whether it's signing up on your website and giving you their collected data, they're happening hundreds of times a day for millions of people, creating billions of moments to win. So as advertisers, it's your job to connect the dots between people's intent and the context across all the moments that truly matter, no matter where they are and on what device. So lastly, we're going to go back one more. The good news is that as marketers, we have all the tools we need to win. In our own organizations, we're positioned to not only understand these customer behaviors, but to act on them. You focus on three things when you're identifying your micro moments, and then you deliver on the consumer needs in the moments and measure all of those moments. So let's go back to the three things. Identify the micro moment. Secondly, deliver on those needs in the moment. Thirdly, measure your moments that matter. The last thing I want to mention here is that this can be a very complex landscape. It can be, as you can see, all the different dots that are here, there are just as many ways to reach your customers, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. Here at Google, we highly encourage you to use partners like Optimal Targeting to make sure that you have an understanding of the intent and the context of your advertisers or your consumers, and that you're using the best sources of insight. So that's going to be my last word of wisdom here. It can be very complex. Use partners to help you go through these three things to connect the dots. And if you want to learn more about micro moments, we have a ton of data on it. We have a lot more stories like Mabel's that you can visit by going to g.co/micromoments.
Great, thank you, Candace. We'll now pass the presenting role to our co-presenter, David Koenigsberg. David, I'm going to just pass the presenter role to you now.
Thank you. Can you see my screen just fine?
I can, looking good.
Great, excellent. You know, Candace, this is a big shift from the way that most people, I believe, view how to use Google and targeting and ads to sell their product or to engage with their customers. because you really have the ability to do more than just sell and be self-promotion. You actually have the ability to nurture and take a person who engaged with you already through a sale or through an identify that you know that they're interested in your product or your brand, and you can really zero in on them at their micro moment and engage with them on a content level, on a customer service level, or even on a repeat sales level, which is really amazing that I don't believe till these new things people really have the ability to do. Now, going into our next presentation, I'm going to try to outline a little bit about how you could use these micro moments to get ahead in certain industries where things have become very competitive, and traditional PPC and traditional ads through shopping and through regular text ads and other targeting methods have given people competition to the point where they no longer could verifiably say that they're making money from the initial purchase. And we find that in certain very competitive industries, especially industries that have a very high lifetime value of the sale. Like if you went ahead and you got somebody to buy something from you, and that person's going to come back to you every single month, and they're going to spend a lot of money with you over the course of their lifetime, that initial sale is worth so much more that I think people are beginning to realize that and bid even higher. So the competition of those type of keywords becomes so fierce that people aren't making money anymore off the initial sale. And that really opens it up to how do you go ahead and go beyond the sale? What do you do for spaces where customers and the cost for acquisition of those customers cost so much that you have to scratch your head and wonder if it's even worth it? We find out with a lot of people that they don't realize that there's another option. And really the option is to go beyond the sale. We think all the targeting that we use and most of the sophisticated things that we've been exposed to from the ad space really focus on the pre-sale scenario where we have a sale, and then once it happens, you're shipping it, the people are using your product, you have customer service. The marketing job is done in a lot of people's eyes, where I believe that marketing has become more and more sophisticated, and you have to understand that if you want to really be successful, you can't just stop at the sale point of view. There's a lot of different moments that you could capture beyond the initial sale. So just to run through a couple of different examples, and some of the new products that came out, we have the ability to integrate into capturing these type of things, but it goes beyond. It's more of a methodology that has to be adopted by the customers to understand that once you have a sale, you have the person on the phone at the time of sale. You could upsell with different products that might be available that would go very well with the product they're buying, maybe an accessory, or if there's another level of service that you could pitch to them. And at that moment, you can increase your average order value, which ultimately will increase your profits, which makes that initial sale more worthwhile than if you would have just taken the sale for what it was. So we find that the customers that are being the most successful are the ones that are integrating these type of strategies where they're understanding that the post-sale is not the end of marketing. You have people's email addresses at the time of sale you could capture. You could email market them, and you could send them offers for other products related to teach them more, to keep them current to what your brand is, and really be able to increase your brand exposure to them, which ultimately will help them purchase from you in the future and become more loyal to you. And that's what I believe that most brands are really going after today, is creating that brand loyalty. We have related products through ads that you could target based on buying cycle. And now that you have the ability to do custom retargeting from analytics, you can really create based on what you know the person purchased. You could show them ads catered to just them, or using some of the new products. You have new platforms on email. You could capture them through GSP, like we discussed, or through video, or through other ways of creating audiences. You have that ability to target them and give them things post-sale that they might be interested in the next sale. The next thing is you have search remarketing, which we find that people are really using RLSA, as you guys call it, which gives you the ability to take a purchase of a person and say, well, let's split out customers who purchase and people who have been to our website, and let's be able to bid on the things that those people are looking for in the future more aggressively. If you know that a person already tried out your company, they gave you a shot, they experienced your sales and your shipping, and they used your product and you used your customer service, they're more likely to buy from you in the future. If they're looking for something online through shopping or through text or through through different types of mediums, you want to be able to bid more aggressively on those people and to capture those people, which is a great strategy that I see people using. And even more than that, once you have these audiences, you could even do similar audiences based on those things, like you discussed previously, Candace, and be able to target people. We find that even after the product is being used, you're able to send GSP ads through, maybe that we know that the person purchased a certain type of product. Maybe we could educate them how to use your service, new features that they might have not explored, to get them hooked a little bit stronger with your product so they won't cancel. A lot of times we find the product is that people sign up for a service and they never really even use it or get to understand it well enough to be able to see the value in it, and therefore they cancel it by the next month, or they don't retain it, they don't keep it long enough. So you have the ability to talk to them through customer emails, through the new GSP, through the email customer match that we have now. We have the ability to talk to them post-sale and nurture them to be more likely to buy from us in the future, to experience our brand, to have more loyalty to it, and to buy from it more readily. We also find that we have video ads and all sorts of new platforms that are coming out, that we have the ability to target people and give them content, and see Google and their platforms as a way of nurturing post-sale things with content and with brand, and using it more of a branding tool, but not in a way that's going to cost you a fortune, because you're only targeting the people that have already bought from you or showed a very serious interest in your brand that's worthwhile for you to brand to. Because those people won't cost you a lot to brand to. They'll think you're branding to everybody, and they'll have that much stronger affinity, which, and ultimately, if you could get those people to buy from you time and time again, to keep your service longer, that's worth it to you a lot more than getting new people. And people don't really understand that. They lose sight of it, and they don't put the time in needed to inbox marketing and all the things that are post-sale that we find to be so important for sophisticated industries, where the competition is so fierce in the initial sale that's not enough anymore. You really have to do everything perfectly, and that's what we're finding to be the biggest impact to create more new versus returning customers, to create additional revenue, to make money off that initial sale. And this, I think, ties in beautifully with what you guys were just explaining, all the new features. And with that, I conclude, and I hope everybody gained from this webinar. And feel free to shoot us any emails at david@optimaltargeting. We're happy to answer anyone's questions. And with that, I'll give it over to Candace and Darius.
Thanks, David. Really great content. Everything ties in very well with our philosophy here, which is find the best way to reach your customers in whatever moment makes the most sense for them. And certainly customer loyalty is a huge passion of ours. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for allowing us to share our new sort of passion here at Google with our Micro Moments narrative. And please do reach out to David over at Optimal Targeting for questions, or to even take a look or do some consulting, considering what you may want to do for digital marketing in the future.
Thanks all. Appreciate it. Thank you for joining in.